I want that person to be trained, work for me, and is incentivized to retain that client.
Welcome to Personal Injury Mastermind. I'm your host, Chris Dreyer, founder and CEO of Rankings.io, the legal marketing company the best firms hire when they want the rankings, traffic, and cases other law firm marketing agencies can't deliver. Each week, you get insights and wisdom from some of the best in the industry. And speaking of the best, I've got some exciting news to share with you. This September at PimCon in Scottsdale, Arizona, we'll be joined by none other than my favorite comedian, David Spade. You know him from the classic movies like Tommy Boy and Joe Dirt, and of course, his unforgettable run on Saturday Night Live. It's going to be a blast having him with us, so say bye-bye to FOMO and get your ticket to PimCon now. Link is in the show notes. All right, let's dive in. My guest today is revolutionizing the legal industry and has a remarkable track record of success. After graduating from Chico State University with an engineering degree at just 17 years old and earning his MBA in the business marketing at 21, Hamid Kohan went on to work alongside the now CEOs of Google and Yahoo at Sun Systems. As president of the Emblazoned Technology, he grew the company by 300% in a single year, resulting in $1 billion valuation. Today, Hamid is the founder and CEO of LegalSoft, a legal growth firm specializing in virtual staffing. They help practices expand from initial stages to multi-state and multi-practice areas in less than 12 months. They offer an on-demand team of legal industry experts and a comprehensive suite of services from virtual staffing to AI-powered automation tools. He explains how to find profits in virtual talent, best practices on where to find and retain the perfect virtual employees, and the untapped opportunities that AI presents for forward-thinking firms. Here's Hamid Kohan, CEO of LegalSoft. Let's go.
I started off finishing up the high school at 14, which I was sort of challenging every classes, and I just was always in the rush to finish things. So finished high school, finished college, and I was going to go all the way to get my PhD from engineering. And then I got recruited to Silicon Valley because everybody from Chico, Northern California, goes to Silicon Valley. So the internet itself was a big deal. And then was fortunate enough to work with some amazing people and amazing companies who revolutionized the technology from the internet eras, then servers, then the dot-com era, when we all said, what the heck is this? What are we going to do with this? And now we're like, what do we do without it? So all of a sudden got recruited from an Israeli company. And I was the president of that company for a few years. A lot of it had to do pretty much with the data management, data sciences, data analysis, data architectural, so data mining, data warehousing, all that stuff. That became a lot of my expertise.
What inspired you to start LegalSoft, specifically the legal vertical, and then kind of give me the big, the 80-20 of what LegalSoft does?
One of my friends who had a personal injury case came into the office one day and said, look, I think something is wrong. So I said, I come with you and try to translate, find out what is that they're telling you. I found out that they blew the statue on her case. And it was like, oh my God, what happens? And then I was talking to the managing attorneys, and they said, in our field, a lot of things happens. And I was like, that in the tech, we can't say that because things doesn't just happen on its own. Somebody causes it to happen. And I looked at it and I said, oh my God, compare from where I'm coming from technology, and where the law industry is, like they're 40 years behind. I start walking around and saying, let's just streamline things. Why so many people need to be involved in the process? Why things take so long? And every question I ask from the personal injury attorneys, especially, saying, what's your cost of client acquisition? I don't know. How long the typical case takes for pre-lit to lit? We don't know. What's your average, fees collected? Basically, every single question I asked that somebody in the tech would have an answer for, they never had an answer, and they just looked around like, we have two happy days when the client gets retained and when the check arrives. And everything in between is sort of cloudy. I started consulting with several PI firms, and I did a lot of fixing and recommending and consulting and coaching. And I found that the next problem was that they're not set up to implement the recipes. So I started sort of getting involved in the implementation. That's how the legal stuff came about. It was like a consulting, coaching, masterminding, whatever you want to call it in this field. Then it said, not challenge number one, they can't find the right staff that they can afford and keep. So there was always shortage of staff on every level, right before COVID. I said, well, there's a lot of good talent globally. So why are we stuck in this thing here? So we started recruiting from 8 different countries eventually. That's what one of the first LegalSoft tent was, to find global talent, screen them, train them, deploy them, and then help managing them into the law firm. So it started from intake staff and then went to case managers, paralegals. Now we do remote attorneys, accounting staff, but all for legal.
It speaks to the industry and how good their margins were to not understand what the CAC was and the lifetime client value and how long it sits on desk and things like that. But I will say, as you've seen, it's becoming significantly more important where the firms and the firm owners are being forced to learn some of these skills. Um, so this led you down kind of like this pricing arbitrage, understanding how to find profit through global talent. I would say even just a couple years ago, it was kind of taboo to even talk about outsourcing or using international labor. But do you think COVID kind of connected us more from a technology perspective and kind of made that not such a barrier?
Yeah, Chris, exactly that's what happened. Because before, everybody's mentality was everybody has to be sitting right around me somewhere, right? At least in this building. When the COVID happened, people got forced to send people home and then work with them remotely. So when I came into the picture, I basically said, look, if John, who is an employee of this firm, if he's not in this building, then I don't care where he is. So when we start placing people, and we don't place them, we actually, there are staff that we place and assign permanently full time to the firms. So I said, look, this person is in Philippines, this one is in Ecuador or Colombia. You don't care because they're not in your office. So that's what jump started that whole notion of market acceptance came that way. That it says this is how is not acceptable to try it. So then when they tried it, then it accelerated. Went from getting one to I have firms that have upward of 50, 60 staff of ours in their firm.
Let's talk about some of these options here because you would know this better than anyone. And I've got a background in affiliate marketing. So I've had staff globally. The Philippines, for example, when I hired from there, I had issues with their power grid. There's the time zone implications, and then but if you get in South America and Colombia, you've got near the same time zones. So when we're thinking about something like, let's say, intake, is there a general hey, this region is typically the best for this, and then maybe for case managers or maybe delivery workers, maybe it's a different region? Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. That's basically the recipe of doing it properly. Just like what you said, is to analyze the demographic and analyze the matching of the positions to certain demographic. It's not just the country, it's also cities within the countries. There is age brackets that you need to, is a full demographic that you need to. That's why we have like a recruiters and offices in each of these countries that they focus on where to recruit. For example, we go have a partnerships with the law schools and law training institutions within that country that they give us their alumni and their students and so forth. So you got to know where to go and how to source. Like if you're doing like anything in a way of managing CRM for the law firm, you go to South America. If you need administrative help, you go to Philippines. If you want a systematic intake, it's Philippines. But if you want a creative intake, South America. So it is a spread based on positions and the culture and demographic of each country that you're recruiting talent from.
Very good. Very good. I love that answer. That sometimes that's not talked about enough, the different advantages of different regions. And, obviously there's different pricing for different regions and the pricing arbitrage that comes into play there.
But you also have to set them up and manage them properly. You got to treat them like an employee. So we give them computers, we give them online internet high speed access. We provide all of that. We give them health insurance. We give their spouse health insurance. We even go as far as offering retirement account in each respectful country for the staff who will stay like 6 months or a year above. So is one thing is getting them on board and training them. The second thing is you have to keep them. For those people who have experienced hiring directly through Upwork or other places, the first challenge is getting the right talent. There's a bigger challenge to keep them long term.
One of the advantages of using, it used to be Odesk. I think it's now Upwork now. It has their experience, right? And they've been vetted. They went through all these. You can read their reviews. But I think the thing that I've experienced when individuals go to hire is they think about, lowballing on the pay, but then they get a lot of churn, right? So then they're having to rehire the individuals, but treating them as employees. They attend the meetings. They get the benefits of the company. How is that factored into pricing, like health insurance, the tax implications? How do those things, are those just factored into like a set fee for LegalSoft?
Yes, it's all set fees, is usually monthly fees. So for example, you say you get a full-time bilingual intake staff is at 2,300 a month fix. We take care of everything. The fees, the transfer of the fees and the payments, health insurance, computers, internet, phone systems. We take care of everything. So it's a 1099 to the law firm. So they have one fixed cost. Each intaker costs $2,300 full time. One of the biggest advantages you also mentioned that was having the flexibility of the time. So one of the issues I had with the PI firm, you don't know when that 7, 8 figure call comes in. It could be at 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or 4 a.m. Eastern Time. You have to have people who are trained, not call centers. I don't like call centers at all because I don't, when that 7 figure call comes in, I don't want some random person somewhere picks up the phone and says, hello, the law firms of ABC. I want that person to be trained, work for me, and is incentivized to retain that client. So when you're hiring this virtual staff, you can tell them, we basically set them up as 24/7s. So you get 4 staff, you got 24/7 bilinguals trained.
I think a lot of the attorneys listening, they're like, they understand the importance of sales and intake. And those that maybe don't have the capital to at least bring it in their building, and they're considering their options, whether it's a quote unquote call center or having your own team, so you already touched on one of them. I guess they're answering, a call center could be potentially answering for hundreds of law firms, and they could even say the name wrong, the value prop wrong. I guess where I'm going is, does LegalSoft, does it have the ability to set up your entire infrastructure and have an intake manager and manage, like, say I want to move my entire intake and have LegalSoft do it? Is that what you do?
We actually advanced it to the point when we're engaging with the firm, we build something that is foreign to them. We actually develop an org chart for the firm. Firms don't have org charts. I mean, big law does, but other than that, there is no org chart. Again, coming from the tech or corporate or Fortune 500, everything starts and ends with the org chart. So we set organizational chart, we put their staff in there, and we identify in every department from intake to document collections to demand writings to paralegals, and we identify every position that they can utilize a virtual staff for, and then they can pick and choose which one they want to start with. So we say, okay, your intake staff is 4 people plus a supervisor. You need one that does medical record retrieval. You have one demand writer. You have 2 paralegals. We identify every position in the firm for them to utilize virtual staff.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I've always, it's like, oh, I need to go to South America and set this up and be there, set up that entity right for all. But it seems like LegalSoft does all of that and has a lot of experience specific. That's the niche expertise that goes into that.
I have a great example for your quiz. One of my first clients, which is also a great friend of mine, he hired 12 virtual staff from us. He's a PI firm in California. And then to save costs, his operation manager told him, We have this, we learn how to do this, let's go hire our own. So he hired 17 others outside of our system directly. So he had 12 of ours, 17 of his own. After a lot of difficulty, he came back and says, how much you charge me to take over the 17? Because I don't want to do this anymore. I much rather do your system, but I want to save some money. So can I transfer all my 17 people to you to add to your 12? So is and he's a great friend too. So he was very revealing about, don't try this at home, kind of a thing.
That's funny. That's yeah, that's amazing because you have the processes, you got the systems to do it because you've done it so frequently.
And we watch everybody. We watch everybody very tightly as far as their attendance, their performance. We do screenshots every 15 minutes. We record every single call. We can block him to go to certain URLs or not. There's a lot of controls.
Does LegalSoft handle the raises and the income? The so say you're paying 2,300 to start. Do they have like a level 2 intake that's at this tier and a senior at this?
Everything. We actually become their extended HR because we say if this person performed greatly, 80% or above, in 6 months, you got to give them a raise. We actually give the first raise ourselves from our pocket
Interesting.
because, again, it's about the retention of that VA. So we say, okay, on the annual, you have to give them a raise if their performance justifies it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's number one. Second, we almost 80% of the time, we teach the firm how to have an incentive program for everybody. Number of cases retained, number of cases closed, how many policies they tendered, everything like that. We set them up. It goes to the extent once we set up for the VAs, they come back and say, could you help us to do this for our local staff too? Because our local staff have no incentive. In this industry, contingency based especially, incentivizing is very important.
I've worked with recruiters. I've seen I am near. I've seen support shepherd, which are kind of the generalist, I would say, and not the specialist that you're saying. And a lot of these will have like guarantees, like if the talent churns, or sometimes recruiting fees will place, a 10 or a 30% on the placement. Nothing. So it's here's the
No long-term contract. I don't tie them down into any contract. Is month to month. No penalties. No increases in fees. I mean, they can essentially let go of five today and say, "Is I want five more on Monday." It's almost like they're ordering pizza. It's like, can I get five of these with extra cheese on Monday? This is like, it's so funny how they, after they work with the stuff for a few years, it becomes so scalable that they have no worries to cut, upgrade, or add people.
Hamid is uniquely positioned to speak to the incredible potential of AI in the legal space. With over 2 decades of experience in tech, specifically data analysis and data mining, he's written extensively about the impact of artificial intelligence on law firm management. He shares his insights on the most valuable AI-related skills for legal professionals.
I have all these 20 plus years of a tech background, especially data analysis and data mining, which is a foundation of AI. And then I went to low tech law industry. So I was always wearing two hats. I'm a techie, but there's no techie on this side. So when the AI hit, I was just, okay, finally the two perfect people are getting married. We started doing AI. And that's the first time I started writing the book because I had to get it out of my system. It was sort of bundled up for a long time and I had to get it out. So what happened is that the legal industry, the only set of data or technology that collects data was available to them was case text. All the previous judgments and decisions by the court, decision by the judges, the juries, the awards, all this other stuff, and case samples, like LexisNexis or Case Text or a whole bunch of these people out there. That was the only thing around. Now with the AI, is like, first of all, you have all this data. They were hiring a bunch of interns and so forth to read some old cases and analyze it and make recommendation. Well, that's all gone because I unleashed AI on it, and it can look in 1,000 cases in an hour that you would need an army of associates or law clerks to actually do. So that was the first impact, is like analyzing existing data from all cases of all types nationwide and give you recommendation, give you advice for discovery, for trial prep, for depositions, for appeals, everything. So that's the first. The second part is for those of folks out there who do transactional law, which is like immigration, bankruptcy, estate planning. That is non-litigation, basically, for most part. 85% pre-lit, immigration, not even a pre-lit. It's like filling out a whole bunch of forms, collecting a bunch of data, and submitting it to INS, right? So all of this, the AI, we have an AI company here in Ligosoft that is going to completely replace all of that. It's just like if you have uncontested divorce, I mean, what's there? Two people sign a document and say we're done. Why do I need an attorney for that? Or for bankruptcy, I'm doing chapter 7, 11, 13. Which ones? I got a bunch of forms to fill out, bunch of documents to provide, and then it gets filed. So all of those going to have a major impact on all of those that does not really require lawyering. That's on transactional law. Now on the litigation or plaintiff law is contingency, like PI, employment, workers' comp, and so forth. The entire intake process is going to be AI. There's going to be this people like me that is not real human going to be talking to people like you and just do an intake, send you a retainer, get it back, and I'm the total machine that look like a human being, but I'm really not. On the other side, like on the product that we just released, which is a fast demand.ai, is we generate PI demand letters that is 98% accurate, reviewed by attorneys for $97 per demand, and you can get 100 of them today. It's basically we feed all the medical records in there, reads it, analyze it, summarize it, uses it to write the demand. That this AI is being trained on 10,000 similar cases.
I've seen in the space some of those from different entities is starting to emerge, right? How is the pairing with LegalSoft? So are you basically going to source your own talent that are AI equipped? Is that the pairing that you're talking about, this harmony?
Yes, because we have, like right now, we have about 20 AI developers who are just writing AI. We have this called PI.ai that I created, which is modular from case generations to intake and then pre-lead, demands, and lien reduction. So each watch module that you subscribe to eventually will essentially create it. My vision of the techie vision was I press this button and get a case, and I press this button, I get a check, and everything in between. The machine does it with some human supervision. I'm not talking about completely humanless system. I'm talking about a system that is accurate, fast, inexpensive, and it can replace 70% of the resources in between.
So, okay, I think this is a fun exercise. Okay, so we're going to put on our how we see the future, right? And forecasting. So I just had Stephen Gersten on the call Michigan Auto Law, and he was talking about the advancements of technology in collision detection and how that impacts auto accidents. There's less auto accidents because collision detection gets improved. And now we're talking about AI for transactional, but I would go personally, and I'm not an attorney. I look at the small rear end collisions, kind of like some of the auto, as almost transactional. Do you think that will those would be eliminated? Just forecasting the future for PI, what you see, how we're going to have to evolve, and not 900,000 PI, auto accident attorneys. Just how do you see the future today?
The collision detection that you mentioned, it is something that was developed in one of the universities many, many years ago. And it was tried to be used several times before it was any AI or nothing around. The problem with it, we actually got it, tested it, and you can actually, is a open code, so you can have it and test it. Problem was that if it's not 100% accurate, it becomes a huge liability because the collision detection is supposed to notify authorities or family members or whatever that your person just had a collision, had an accident. And if one false alarm goes out there and somebody gets wrong notification, it's a huge liability. So a lot of people tried it and nobody really used it because nobody could get around the liability of it. Even 1% mistake, it could be $1 billion cost of litigation. So that's on that. As far as the AI is going to happen much faster than anybody is imagining. If you think the .com or cell phone technology happened fast, they are snails compared to what AI is going to do. Because there's been a lot of underground activities, and now that is exposed, everybody's coming above ground. And a lot of it is using ChatGPT as a launching pad. So they're jumping on ChatGPT and then developing wraps or vertical solutions from it. Our focus, since LegalSoft only focuses in legal, we are very determined to develop our own platform with our own training sets because we have access to a lot of legal data. We work with about 1,000 law firms in all variety of practice types, and they have shared a lot of information with us to be able to put this thing together on their own will. Like I had one of the largest immigration attorneys being in my office today, a meeting with my AI team to bringing all of his 10 years of practice data for our AI machine to learn from. That's going to be some of the issues that the other platforms will have, is that they've never been in law or they don't have access to a lot of law oriented data to train the AI. The AI is useless if it's not trained.
Interesting. Yeah. So, okay. So that, in terms of the collision detection, that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable because there is that extreme liability. Just a few final questions here. In terms of relinquishing control, right? Because, whenever you're using a strategic partner is you have, you relinquish some control to a strategic partner. Does do they start with intake and then understand typically what you've seen with your clients as you work with 1,000 firms? Do they start with intake and they're like, oh, I should do my paralegals. Oh, I should do this. Like, have you seen that expansion, or is it mostly firms working with you on the intake side, or is it on the admin side, or is it?
No, you're right. About 70% of it starts with the intake because everybody has intake problem. I mean, it's like you said, it's like sales. You have no sales, you have no company. You have no intake, you have no firm. So it is very sort of a no-brainer. I need people to retain clients for me, especially if you're spending money on lead generation, right? So that's number one. The second most fastest growing segment for us is remote attorneys. So these are attorneys in other countries, finish law school, practice law. So their writing, reading skills is great, and they're very mature because they finished law school and all of that. So they use them for to do everything from demands to discoveries to filing motions to filing complaints. The only thing they can do, they can't sign on the dotted line, which attorneys in locally would be very happy to just sign on the dotted line. So the remote attorneys and the intake is probably the most gateway into this virtual staffing market.
That's amazing. So I see a lot of benefits to this, especially if you're still the attorney listening to this podcast and you're trying to listen to, on your cell phone to take these calls. I mean, it's just absolutely essential that you have dedicated intake, because especially if you're doing search engine marketing, if you miss a call on local services ads, you're just completely dead and you lose out on a big channel opportunity. I think this will be very valuable to our audience because it's something unique from a staffing perspective that we haven't talked about enough. Where can our audience go to learn more about yourself and LegalSoft?
Our website is at legalsoft.com, and there's a lot of information in there. My own bio is in there, my own direct email and phone number is even in there. And we'd be happy to send anybody a copy of the books. There's 3 books out there that we'll be happy to send it to anybody who contact us so we can get the free copy of the books. But if they go to legalsoft.com, they find everything they need to know about us.
All right, y'all, let's go over the pinpoints, a recap of the key takeaways from today's episode. Remove your bottlenecks. As a PI attorney, your time is your most valuable asset. Every minute you spend on administrative tasks or routine casework is a minute you're not dedicating to high-value activities that move the needle. That's where partnering with staff solutions like LegalSoft comes in. They can provide the support you need exactly when you need it, so you can focus on what matters most, winning cases and growing your firm.
So we set organizational chart, we put their staff in there, and we identify in every department from intake to document collections to demand writings to paralegals, and we identify every position that they can utilize the virtual staff for. And then they can pick and choose which one they want to start with. So we said, okay, your intake staff is 4 people plus a supervisor. You need one that does medical record retrieval. You have 1 demand writer. You have 2 paralegals. We identify every position in the firm.
Cover your bases. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You need a rock solid intake team with 24/7 coverage. When a potential client calls, picking up the phone isn't just about providing great service. It's about increasing your ROI and boosting your local search rankings on Google. Don't let those leads slip through the cracks. Get a dedicated team that's ready to spring in action whenever a case comes in. And if you're in growth mode and ramping up your marketing spend, you need a team that can handle that influx of new cases. LegalSoft can help you scale up overnight so you never miss an opportunity.
When that 7-figure call comes in, I want that person to be trained, work for me, and is incentivized to retain that client.
Stay curious. Let's face it, the legal industry isn't exactly known for being an early adopter of new technology, but that's exactly why embracing innovation can give you a massive competitive advantage. AI-based tools can supercharge your growth and leave your competitors in the dust. The key is to be strategic. Focus on proven, reliable tools that play nicely with your existing systems and workflows. And always double check the work. AI is a powerful supplement to your expertise, not a replacement for the judgment of a skilled attorney.
The only set of data or technology that collects data was available to them was case text. All the previous judgments and decisions by the court, that's like LexisNexis or case text, that was the only thing around. Now with the AI, is like, first of all, you have all this data. They were hiring a bunch of interns and so forth to read some old cases and analyze it and make recommendation. Well, that's all gone because I unleashed AI on it, and it can look in 1,000 cases in an hour that you would need an army of associates or law clerks to actually do.
For more information about Hamid, check out the show notes. Before you go, do me a solid and smash that follow button to subscribe. I'd sincerely appreciate it, and you won't want to miss out on the next episode of Personal Injury Mastermind with me, Chris Dreyer, founder and CEO of Rankings.io. All right, everybody, thanks for hanging out. See you next time. I'm out.